Greetings, friends, and welcome to another episode of The Mistake Zone, your weekly dose of our lives and the mistakes within them. My name is Jaron Wade. Joining me, as always, one of my best friends in the whole wide world, Matt Alba. Hey, Matt.
Yo.
How are you doing?
Yo, I'm doing good.
Matt, that's great. Also joining us this week, another one of my best friends in the whole wide world, Rakush. Hey, Rakush.
Yo, that's me.
How are you doing?
Sports are terrible. I don't want to watch sports anymore. My team might have just lost in football.
Yeah. Football American, football European.
Soccer.
Okay.
Hate to see it.
Neither of my teams are in the Super Bowl, which is the only other football that's on. But, yeah.
You have too many teams, Rakush, but in your...
No, I have too many sports.
For you to feel bad, I have to admit, I'm feeling pretty full, because if there's one thing I love about big game season, one, I love whenever someone has to reference the big game, they just call it the big game without going into what it's actually called.
Yeah, it's licensing issues.
Which I really like. But what I love about the big game is all the different chicken wing deals that spring up. And lately, one of the, big grocery chains, which I won't say because, don't want to give out too much, but for the last month or so, they've been running a promotion where you get 30 chicken wings and a large box of wedges and some dipping sauces for $20. And boys, for the last month, that has sustained me for a good few days every time I purchase said bucket. And now they're doing a deal where if you scan a QR code and upload your receipt, because everyone wants to data mine you, they'll give you a free box of frozen chicken wings, a coupon in the mail a few weeks later. So Matt, how much chicken wings have you consumed in the last month?
Oh man, Jared, I would have consumed so many more if you had dropped this like amazing lore earlier.
Yeah. This guy's like gatekeeping wing deals.
Damn, man.
It's incredible.
Wow. I thought we were best friends in the whole wide world. What happened?
Originally, I was put off by buying wings from this grocery chain just because where I used to live, the local grocer didn't have the breaded chicken wings, and it was only the naked chicken wings that were whatever, fried or baked or whatever they did. And it was always dry when you purchased it, and I swore off I would never buy wings from this place ever again. But seeing a good bucket deal like this, thankfully they did have the breaded wings, and boys, am I full, and I want to take a nappy nap right now. But I did say,
like ready-made wings, or did you have to prep them yourself?
Nope, ready-made wings from the hot food section.
Oh, okay.
Where even though the deal was for a bucket, for the last few weeks, they would give you one box of wings and then one box of wedges. But today, of course, for the big game, they were giving out the buckets. And boys, you know how much I love me a chicken bucket. But that's where I've been at, just eating a bunch of chicken wings, watching my health deteriorate as I'm looking closer and closer to the abyss of brought to us by Father Time. But Matt, what eats have you been eating lately, and do you feel good about them?
I mean, I did have chicken wings recently. Just Jaron, I love me some chicken adobo made mostly with chicken wings, because that gets the good grease going.
It does. But Rakush, I would have dropped this amazing, I don't want to say amazing, but it was a pretty amazing deal. But the local grocer near you closed, unfortunately. And I learned that the hard way, where I went in one morning before work and realized, man, there's nothing here anymore. Now I can't buy my instant coffee. But Rakush, have you been eating good lately?
I've been eating great. I actually have my pork bone broth that's currently on the stove. 10 more hours to go for that. That's fun. But yeah, man, been doing a lot of cooking lately. A lot of trying out a lot of different things. I learned recently that if you saute minced garlic in some sesame oil, it gets rid of the pungency and brings out the sweetness. And put a pin in that, by the way, because we will be talking more about where I learned that later on.
Man, garlic is... I know when I first started really cooking for myself, a lot of recipes that I would, kind of gravitate towards would have you, finally chopping some garlic and then putting it on the stove. And man, when you're first starting out after being a man child for most of your life, garlic, trying to get that down consistently was quite the adventure and quite the smells in the kitchen at that time. But
I really
what's up?
Don't think you can have enough garlic. Like, I've been cooking for a solid decade of at varying levels, I would say, right? Like, I was not nearly good at cooking until I was in my 30s. So it's only been a couple of years of me actually understanding the ingredients. I still don't think you can have enough garlic. I think it's just about everything else that you add to the dish. But if you take one of my favorite things to use right now are garlic stems. Like, certain Asian grocery stores and supermarkets have that. So you just dice that up and add that to a fried rice, for example, along with, say, burning the garlic a little bit. You get just an amazing layer of garlic flavoring in that dish as well. So it's just how you prepare it that really changes how much of it you can eat.
I will say, I think the kind of implied caveat there, which I think maybe not all beginner cooks will know, is I think you can't have enough cooked garlic in a dish. I think you can go way too ham, way too easily with raw garlic.
Sure, yeah.
That's fair.
I don't know how many recipes call for raw garlic as a garnish or something, though.
I think a lot of the stuff that is having raw garlic is, I guess, it is as a garnish, or it is in the realm of those I don't know, dips or sides or salads, right, or that type of thing.
And even those are typically cut with something, right? It's not necessarily pickled, but there's something else added to cut through that pungency a little bit as well. But yeah, many different ways to use garlic, I guess.
Boys, where do you fall on our good friend? Well, I don't want to say good friend, but where do you fall on Jarlic, jarred garlic? Matt.
I'm a fan of it. I know that, hey, a lot of people are gonna be like, oh no, you're not gonna like the fresh garlic flavor, but just the convenience of
Right.
it being, pre-mashed and everything, and you can just up the amount of garlic that you're putting into the dish, which is what I tend to do when I'm using jarred garlic.
Jarlic.
Fair. How about you, Rakush? How much garlic do you have in your pantry?
Okay. I'm going to go on a little bit of another rant with Jarlic. I don't think it's usable for Indian recipes because I think you need a little bit of the pungency for the Indian recipes. And so I don't really have a lot of Jarlic at home. However, what I've also started doing recently is buying a 3-pound bag of pre-peeled garlic, taking one day every, say, 3 to 4 months, just slicing off the roots or those little ends, putting it in my food processor, mincing it myself, leaving it in the freezer. And I currently 3 pounds gives me 2 Ziploc bags or something like that. And anytime I need to use it, I just take it out, snap off a piece, throw it in the dish, and it cooks perfectly at that point. Once I started doing that, Jarlic wasn't necessarily something that I was looking for. What I will say though, our pastes are different, right? So ginger garlic paste or garlic paste, I think those are very useful, especially when the dish needs the flavor to be a little bit more spread evenly, that minced garlic might not necessarily give you that. The paste, I think, will allow the flavor to spread a little bit more. So yeah, that's my take on Jarlic.
Wait, okay, sorry.
No, that's fair.
Is Jarlic not just basically what Rakush said?
No, because I minced and paste are different.
Okay, because I have always been doing the food processed garlic, what Rakush. I basically did what Rakush said because I thought that that's what Jarlic was, and I was just too cheap to buy real Jarlic.
No, paste is paste, literally paste.
Yeah. Okay.
I think for me, where the only time I really have Jarlic on hand is if ever we take a trip to a Trader Joe's, and for some reason, I only buy Jarlic there, and it's the finely minced and submerged in whatever liquid it's supposed to be in. But I think whenever I am in a supermarket, and usually if there's garlic cloves on sale, which they're fairly cheap in themselves, but when they are on sale, especially, you know me, boys, I need to feel like I'm saving something when I'm out there purchasing stuff. So, I'll just get a few, and that's mostly where I go. But it's good to have in a pinch when I don't want to put in the effort, because, boys, you know how much I hate putting in any effort when I'm doing things. But now that we've, opened the oven, we have all the scents coming out. And Rakush, you wanted to speak about a reality show.
I did,
That
yes.
is, well, at least the latest season on. I watched it on Netflix. I'm not sure where it is. We're talking about the Korean reality show, Culinary Class Wars. Rakush, was it specifically season 2 you want to talk about, or just the production overall?
So I think let's talk about season 1, because I don't believe this has come up on the series before. And I think part of it is discovering it more recently because season 2 only just ended. And, there was a lot of hype around it. So I watched both seasons. I absolutely love both seasons, which is kind of why I wanted to talk about it here. Spoiler, I guess. But I do think that talking about season 1 as sort of like the introduction to what the series is, what it's probably going to be moving forward as well, because Netflix did just announce there's a 3rd season coming out as well. Mm-hmm. So I think let's start with the first season, which, Jaren, you said you've watched that, right?
Yep.
Okay. So I'm actually really excited to talk about this because I think there's a lot of things that I personally love about this series. So Culinary Class Wars is a South Korean cooking reality competition show, which is a little bit of a mix of the classic Iron Chef competition and I would say more of your traditional competition cooking, like Master Chef and things like that. The series starts off with a total of, I believe it is 100. No, it is 100. Sorry. And then there are 80 chefs that are called the Black Spoons and 20 that are called the White Spoons. The 20 White Spoons are basically chefs that are well recognized for their achievements in Korean cooking, basically, or I would say in some cases international cooking, but they're predominantly located in Korea or have Korean backgrounds, and so they're considered the White Spoons, those are your Iron Chefs, basically, of this series, right? And then you have the remaining 80 chefs who are varying levels of successful, but they're more sort of some of them are better than this, mind you, but for the most part, you can average it out as they're your Instagram chefs or your social media restaurant chefs that go viral for something, and that's how they gain some of their popularity, or they're really specialized in one dish or 2 dishes, and there's 80 of them. And so there's this whole competition. Basically, there's one winner. They win 300 million won, which I don't know what that translates to in Canadian or US dollars, but essentially only one winner at the very end. And that's kind of the basis of the competition. And they have different competitions. The only reason I'm making this comparison is because both are Korean shows, but think how Squid Games had sort of that game show style thing where it's you had mass eliminations first, and then with each preceding round, it's sort of different competitions, different amounts of eliminations. Unlike Squid Games, because everybody dies and it's fictional, some cooks actually come back based on judge decisions and things like that as well. And the competitions are great.
I thought you were going to say some cook dies or something like that.
Right, yeah. They're actually just dropped into a thing of piranhas. They are all eaten alive.
Damn, that's rough.
So I guess before going any further, Jaren, I kind of wanted to ask you, as you were watching this, did you have a certain competition that really stood out to you before we talk about the judges and some of the other things?
I think before I kind of get into my thoughts about, I guess, Culinary Class Wars overall, specifically I think when we discuss, I might be more familiar with season 2 just because season 1, I think we watched that. It's been a minute now, so memories and thoughts of that are a bit fuzzy. But just real quick, prize was, I believe, as you said, Rakush, 300 million won, which is around 280,000 Canadian moon money. Just to put that out there as well. But I think with Culinary Class Wars, when this initially came out, mind you, I do have, a fondness for at least these cooking reality shows where I grew up watching Iron Chef, watched Master Chef, within the last decade, really a big fan of Top Chef right now as well, and some of the variants there from Top Chef Canada and the different regions. And I think it was on me where when Culinary Class Wars first came out, I think when it was trying to be sold to me from various friends or even online discourse, I feel like I had a misconception of what this would be, just because when you set it up with the black spoons and the white spoons, there was this weird discourse, at least the one I was being, around or floating around, this idea of home cooks versus like actual chefs. And there seemed to be this weird classist underlying to it from the discourse that I was being exposed to, which kind of was off-putting to me at the time. But then when I was trying to find something to watch, I decided, okay, maybe I will start watching this. And even presentation-wise, it's way different than whatever classist discourse was being had at the time, which I was actually shocked by, where this was a pretty standard cooking reality show. And even if you're trying to distinguish white spoons versus black spoons, it's not as severe as one might believe, or at least what I was believing, where even if you are a quote unquote black spoon, you're still pretty much at the top of your game, whether it would be, hey, sure, there were the Instagram or the notable home cooks, but then you also had restaurateurs who also had their own Michelin stars or have their own restaurants. Yeah, or like these are really talented people. So I was actually kicking myself of not watching this earlier, just because a lot of that, my preconceived notions weren't even there. So I think that was just a lesson learned for me of, maybe just try to cut through the noise, cut through everyone trying to make something into what it's not. And at the end of the day, this is a tried and true cooking reality show with the South Korean reality show sensibilities. But I think
I agree with you about a lot of like what you said around like, the sensibilities around the conversation regarding like the culinary class wars. Like that part is a little bit misleading in a way that I do agree with you. I wish they did a better job of kind of explaining one of the themes of the split is that it actually doesn't matter how refined you are in like, with your experiences and stuff like that. It's almost like they're building up this competition that in essence is the great equalizer between the two. And I wish they'd done a better job of explaining that part.
Even going into season 2, you have all these, getting into spoilers there, you have these culinary monsters, winky face. And I think it's weird where you're being presented with these chefs, these who, if you were just to read off their accolades, I'm like, wouldn't that be a white chef technically? It's like, maybe that's also what I'm not really paying attention to, of what they actually differentiate the two chefs classes, where with a name with Culinary Class Wars, it seems a lot more intense than it actually is. And at the end of the day, these are just really skilled chefs cooking against one another. Production with a reality show, and you'll get some of that as well. But for the most part, I feel like it's just a really entertaining watch. And before I answer your question about, some of the challenges that really stood out to me, and I was glad that they returned in season 2 as well. Matt, do you have any experience with the Culinary Class Wars? Like, did you watch it as well? Or
no, I never ended up watching it. To be honest, I'm not really a fan of reality shows in general.
Fair.
Yeah, so like this was just something that like I'd heard about, but it was really something that I didn't really have an interest in looking at.
No, that's fair.
I think like and I think it's totally fair. Like I don't think, Matt, with like what you said, you would enjoy this because there's a lot of the reality show elements to this. What I will say is I'm also not the biggest fan of reality shows, but I am a fan of cooking shows. And the cooking really, to me, shines bright in this series. So I think like if you're able to look past the reality show elements or look at it in a more meta sense, which I did want to talk about that a little bit as well, but if you're able to kind of like change how you approach the show, I do think it's still very entertaining, even if you don't like reality shows.
I'm kind of just waiting for the algo to do what it did to me for like shows like MasterChef and stuff like that, where it's just clips of the food. I'm just waiting for my algo to pick that up at some point.
Yeah,
fair enough.
I think with Culinary Class Wars, when I kind of compare it to something like a Top Chef, something like a MasterChef, I think this was the first time in a while where maybe it's because of my own personal palate and I tend to gravitate towards just general Asian cooking in general, or maybe Eastern Asian cooking in general, where, as I said, I watched a lot of MasterChef, a lot of Top Chef recently, but I think with Culinary Class Wars, this was the first time in a while where I was literally like drooling watching the show, where there were so many dishes that I actually wanted to eat, where I think I was just a fan of a lot of the food being presented in, I guess, both seasons, but season 2 in particular, where that's definitely where when I watched the latest season of Top Chef and Top Chef Canada, where I can acknowledge this looks good, this obviously shows their culinary skills, but man, watching through season 2 of Culinary Class Wars, close as I came to looking my screen in a long while as well.
There's a lot that I kind of want to go through, but maybe I think it's fair for us to maybe just take one step back and explain a little bit more of what kind of competitions there are for anyone that's listening and is interested in this show. The first round for both seasons, and since you have been referring to season 2, let's actually chat about that as well, because you kind of teased the name Culinary Monster that I actually would be very excited to talk about. But as far as like competitions are concerned, they have your standard sort of like first round, which is whittling down sort of like the pretenders and the contenders, right? The White Spoons don't compete in that. The 80 Black Spoon contestants basically are whittled down to the total number of the White Spoon contestants. In season 1, that's 20. In season 2, that is 18 with a little bit of a twist. Once that number is whittled down to like the 36 or the 40, you basically then get into different competitions, including one that is a blind taste test and a one-on-one competition. And then that basically whittles it down to roughly half. And then that further gets whittled down to 2/3, or like, then from there you get into single elimination round robin stuff with something called Endless Hell, which again I do want to talk about a little bit as well, but that's kind of how the competitions work, and they're all very much themed in a like the first round is just put your best foot forward, but then from there everything else is themed depending on like the one-on-one competition. Who are you going up against? What is the ingredient that you've been asked to use as the main ingredient? The judges then blind taste test it and things like that as well. Now, in that sense, it is pretty standard. One thing you mentioned, Jaron, that I personally thought it was a little bit more tense than like, some of the other shows that I personally watch. But I think it was tense in a very sort of like objective way. And I'm going to use that as a segue to talk about the judges a little bit as well, because I do think the judges are a big selling point to get somebody to watch the series too. So the two judges are, one is Paek Jong Wong, who is a veteran sort of like restaurateur and celebrity chef. He's more of like a businessman, I would say. Like he's got his own brand, which if I'm just trying to find the name of the brand itself. He's got a couple of different restaurants and things like that as well. And like, he's not necessarily like, specializing in one dish. It's more like he's got a coffee shop, he's got a restaurant, he's got fine dining, so on and so forth. Does a lot of reality shows. Honestly, gives off a little bit of Guy Fieri vibes, minus the frosted tip hair, if I'm being very honest. I think that piqued your interest.
You got my interest. Yo, you know when you bring in my boy Guy Fieri, I gotta lean in.
I think you might be disappointed with how you're imagining this person being, but like the visual is not Guy Fieri, but I feel like the way he judges and the mentality that he approaches the food with is very Guy Fieri. So he's not gonna be wearing Hawaiian shirts. I'm sorry.
Damn.
At least in the first few seasons. Who knows what season 3 brings? The other one is the one I found super fascinating, and I think really is the big difference between this show and a lot of other reality shows. It is Chef Unsung Jae, who is the only Michelin 3-star chef in Korea. I don't know if he's still a 3-star chef or not, but like he's the only one that has gotten that honor. He's got a restaurant, Mosu. He's got a few different chains. In 23 and 24, he did get 3 Michelin stars for them. Not quite sure about 25. But he reminds me a lot of what Gordon Ramsay pre-US was, as far as like, a personality and a judge and stuff like that. And what I mean by that is that he is honest. He's a little bit coldly honest, but like it's not coming across as like, denigrating to like the chef. It's coming out very, to me personally, it comes across very objective, except for one chef. But like that one, I think the editing did a lot of heavy lifting and try to build some bad blood between the two. But I always found that like he was very cold. Like Jaren, I don't know if you remember this from season 1's like first round, but like there's this one grandma that has been cooking for like 30 plus years or something, and she serves these dishes without rice. And he tastes it, and he says, how come you didn't... Like, he basically questions it, and he always asks great questions, but like he basically goes like, why didn't you serve this with rice? And the lady was like, oh, I guess like, I didn't really kind of think about that, and he eliminates her. But the way the editing is made is that here's this very kindly old grandma that everybody's rooting for, and you really want her to succeed, but then she does it and you're like, oh, this shit's like savage sort of thing, right?
Yeah, and I think that clip in particular that was the one that was going around before I actually watched the show, which contributed to the discourse of, oh, this is the top of the culinary world versus your home cook, your grandma chef.
Exactly.
I feel like that was especially taken out of context, and going to the notion of this manufactured production for drama for season 1. I feel like that was more, maybe I wasn't paying as much attention, but I feel like that was more so something that stood out in season 1 a lot more, where I think season 2 to me felt a bit more pretty neutral, more grounded. Sure, you had some chefs trying to get the villain at it, but at the end of the day I feel like it was a lot more standard cooking show compared to the pieces that they tried to litter here and there in season 1 to give it that, I guess, identity. And maybe, I'm not sure if that was a production choice to scale that stuff back based on the discussion on the outskirts of the actual show, but I think that's something I did notice. Yeah, let
me make a case for that, because I do think there's actually intent in why they're doing it like that, and it has a lot to do with educating the audience. This is the first season of a new series, one that I'm sure they're hoping goes for multiple seasons. Especially an international audience, because Netflix really cares about how these shows do internationally in order to, get a second season, a third season, so on and so forth. Like, local success is one thing, but you're making this for an international audience. We don't know who these judges are, right? And so they kind of have to build that character up a little bit. But at the same time, we also don't know what the judges are looking for. And so, like, that clip that we're talking about, that's an example of you put that first, but then you get to other chefs who are doing identical things, but doing it cleaner. Like, one of the ones that passes on to the next round, I don't know why I framed it like that. That sounded like she died. But one of them that actually succeeds and moves on to the next round is a school chef. Like, she makes, school lunches every day. And she made an identical meal, but provided it with the rice and had better balance in the flavors. So then all of a sudden you have these contrasts of these two identical dishes with each other that the editing kind of trains you to see what is it that the judge is looking for and what they consider is the right dish, or in their eyes, the right dish. Similar things happen with I can't remember this actor's name, but he showed up, he's like, I make a mean steak. And it's very anime-centric in that sense, where he's like, I'm just going to put salt and pepper on this, nothing else. And then he gets eliminated. And like basically like On Sanjay who was judging this one said like expand your horizons. You can do so much more than just salt and pepper with the meat. And then like a few contestants later, you see people using like, you know, if not the same cut of meat, like similar things and making it so much better. And I think like that is an intentional editing decision, not to make the judge seem cold, but to explain to you that the judge is actually looking for something very specific. So that's the case I would make for why it's edited like that, and why season 2 doesn't need that, because you already know what like the judges are looking for in season 2.
Oh, that's fair, and makes sense from a kind of presenting it to, as you said, a international audience, or just an audience in general, where you do want to kind of establish who these chefs are. And I think maybe it is that you're used to the judging criteria, the format, especially when they bring back certain challenges, or at least takes on previous challenges as well. Where I did find season 2 a lot more, I guess, digestible in that regard. Yeah. And as I said,
it was pure.
Lacked any of the drama that I'm kind of really used to seeing in reality TV. But
it felt more pure competition, right? Like it just like there's a lot more, I would say, contenders in the Black Spoon this season, and even in the White Spoons. I felt like there was a solid 5 or 6 that I would have thought perfectly like they could have won this.
Right. But yeah, I think going on, I guess with season 1, I'm trying to think back as you talk to different things. But I know going back to something you asked in particular, in terms of some of the challenges or even some of the dishes that really stood out to me. I think you mentioned it already. I really liked the idea when it was presented of the endless cooking hell. And I was really stoked that came back in season 1. And then they had the, you know, endless cooking heaven equivalent to pair with it as well. But I think when it comes to thinking on your feet and having to utilize only one dish, I think with endless cooking hell, that was it was an elimination style, kind of like a battle royale, where everyone has 30 minutes to cook a dish with a certain ingredient, and then everyone's judged. And by the end of that round, someone's eliminated. Then another 30 minutes pass. You have to create a second dish with the same ingredient. And then you just wind it down to one remaining survivor. And I believe for season 1, the ingredient itself was tofu. But I think something like that, a competition like that where you have to think on your feet, not only in terms of execution, but also variety. I typically liked that as a spectacle and was excited to see that be brought back in season 2 as well. But when it comes to competitions, Rakush, was there anything from season 1 that stood out to you?
I actually think it's Endless Hell as well, right? Because I think we talk about season 2 feeling like this pure competition, and I think that if we talk pure competition, just you want to see the individual chef's abilities, I think season 1 finally got there with Endless Hell. And that's not to say the competitions before that were bad or anything like that. I think they just didn't necessarily allow the chefs to put their best foot forward.
Right.
And I think the level of ingenuity that is needed. So if you just do the math, I believe there's a total of 26 tofu dishes across 7 competitors that the judges needed to basically judge, right? And I think it's one of the more impressive things I've ever seen, because me personally, I'm not the biggest fan of tofu, because I find that while from a nutritional standpoint, it's a very strong ingredient, it's flavorless, right? Like it's kind of what you make of it, at least in my opinion. And maybe I'm missing some subtleties of tofu or whatever, but I've just never personally enjoyed it. And then all of a sudden, you have some of like the best chefs in Korea that have to do a brand new dish every 30 minutes. Yeah. And this is getting into mild spoilers, but like the judges also say that one of the criteria that they have is the creativity, it's the ingenuity. Is this something we've seen before? And the fact that like all of these chefs had to basically like on the fly think about these things. And even like the editing, you see like some of these chefs are finishing intentionally like 10 minutes early so that they have extra time to think about what their dish in the next round is going to be, right? Like there's a lot of that stuff happening. And you see like some of these like wildly decorated chefs like falter in these moments because they're not bad dishes, but they're not capturing the essence of like what the competition is about and stuff. I found that entire round to be super fascinating, and I really thought that was a great way of whittling down to like the final two. That was fantastic. So like I really enjoyed that personally. You mentioned Endless Heaven in season 2. I found that one fascinating as well because I think it showed you, and the rules for Endless Heaven are you can make as many dishes as you want in a matter of 3 hours using whatever ingredients are available to you in the studio. You can make as many dishes, only the highest score counts. And the winner of that round moves on to the finals, and then Endless Hell happens after that. But I found it fascinating that like some chefs decided to go with like 5 or 6 dishes, and then a couple of chefs basically were like, we're going to stake our entire competition on the line with this one dish.
Yeah.
And I found that really cool as well. You know, it's like the approaches were so different. And yeah, I think like a lot of it, like whenever the one-on-one stuff happens, I've really enjoyed those.
Where I think going back to the production while we're still talking about Endless Hell, going to season 2, well, I do, again, this was my favorite challenge for both seasons as well. I think the only downside to me personally is where just with the rapid nature of that competition or that challenge, sometimes you get eliminations that are, you know, kind of unceremonial at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And the only reason I bring that up is personally one of my favorite competitors in season 2, and I'm sure was a lot of others.
I think I know who you're talking about.
Well. Yep. You had Brewmaster Yun, who had such a good edit throughout this whole competition, where she's shown to be this underdog character where she's able to overcome all these challenges while still mixing in the fact that she seems like at first, you know, just happy to be there, being beyond her league, but then having that confidence build out throughout the competition. But then when you get to something like Endless or Infinite Cooking Hell, and then she goes out, I believe she was the 3rd eliminated in that competition, it just goes by so fast, where that payoff to that specific character arc. And again, this might sound hypocritical of me just because I was saying how, oh, I do like this because there's like less drama than your average reality TV show that you might be watching, where to have a character arc like that just kind of get cut off in a whimper just based on how fast this particular challenge goes. I think a viewer who attaches themselves to competitors, that's the only downside I found to that competition, where I don't want to say she deserved a better send-off because that's the reality of how fast this competition is, but I feel like that character arc ending on a whimper was a bit of that was a head scratcher to us when my partner and I were watching up, saying, oh, that kind of just happened instantly, but on to the next one.
I fully agree with you. Fully agree with you on that one, because I really thought like from the very beginning, right? And mild spoilers, Brewmaster Yuen is she is the first Black Spoon that, at least according to the edit, that qualified for like, you know, the actual like competition outside of the 100. Mm-hmm. And the story that they told with her and the reactions that she had, like, I remember just like every single time she talks about herself, I'm like, there has never been a pure character in reality TV that I can at least think of than like Brewmaster Yun. So I agree with you that like, I think she was extremely like a big part of the conscience of season 2. So like when her elimination happened, it did kind of feel a little bit anticlimactic. And I feel like they didn't even like focus on her much in the finale or anything either, because in the finale you have like the eliminated contestants all in like, you know, basically they are the crowd for the finale, and I don't think you hear from her a lot either. But yeah, like I think like she's a perfect example as well of like, to kind of go back to like the editing that we're talking about, right? Like everything you learn in season 1 about what the judges like, you see her do, and you're like, absolutely, like you fully understand what it is, like, you know, they're going for and what it is they're talking about there as well. But Jaren, this has been overly positive. I need to talk shit about one character in season 2 now that we open the floodgates on season 2. Can I do it? Do I have your permission?
Yeah.
Okay. Doichi Gomsong one of the worst competitors in the first 2 seasons, because that man fucked up so many things in the team competition. Like, I think he made 3 significant fuck-ups that I think he might have single-handedly been the reason that half the team got, like, eliminated the way that they did.
Where I'm trying to think, was this the team challenge? I believe that was the second round, right?
I think it's a third round, because the second round is your blind taste test, and the third round was the team competition.
Where I think the only specific character, we can get to the specific chef in a minute, but I think I also had this earmarked as well for the first team competition, and that's where, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's when you, in addition to the 2 main judges, that's when you had the panel of, what was it, 100?
Yeah.
Or was it 100 other judges in general, where I believe this is where the judges, or the notable judges, really preferred the Black Spoon dishes, but the masses, quote unquote, the other, 98 judges preferred the White Spoon, or a big majority of it preferred the White Spoon dishes there. And I thought, damn, that's what you get for pandering to the masses. You hate to see it. You hate to see it. But sorry, Rikush, go on about...
No, I found that interesting too, because in season 1, similar thing happens where the 2 judges are actually talking to each other about if, like, the rest of the audience, like the judges, would understand the nuances of why they picked that, like, a certain dish. And yeah, like, the masses actually, like, went a different route than, like, the 2 judges in season 1 as well. So it was happening a lot.
Yeah, and even the White Spoons did say that when they were thinking, it's like, no, we're cooking for a bunch of people. You need to hit that lowest common denominator palette. So, and then when it happens, it's like, damn, hate to see it.
Yeah,
hate to see it.
I feel like Matt's been quiet for a minute, but Matt, anything that we've mentioned, like, is it speaking to you at all outside of Guy Fieri? I mean, Korean Guy Fieri.
The way that you guys were talking about the Infinite Hell episodes was very interesting to me, because that sounds a lot more like, hey, just look at all these dishes, instead of, hey, look at these people competing, sort of thing. And
kind of, yeah.
I don't know, maybe I'll just jump into those episodes, see what crazy things these people come up with, and teeth some ideas from there.
I mean, if you like making tofu, it's a great episode to watch.
I mean, tofus are good. I jam on, like, tofu, yeah.
True.
Rikush, want to know how we saw Matt on Culinary Class Wars?
How do we saw him, Jared?
We point Matt to what I think is the most eyebrow-raising, head-scratching production choice that I had for this entire show. And it was something that in season 2, I was just, like, scratching my head watching, because every time these showed it happening, I got, like, a good chuckle in it. So Matt, even if you after watching Endless Hell and Endless Heaven, I do recommend I believe it's round 2, when this is where all the Black Spoons and the White Spoons compete for the first time, and then they present their dishes to the judges in a blind taste test, because you have one chef going up against another, but they don't want any bias, so it's a blind taste test. Everyone's blindfolded. The 2 judges are blindfolded and they eat. But not in being blindfolded. Of course, you don't know where your hands are going. You can't handle cutlery when you're blindfolded. So when it's time for the blind taste test, you have the judges just sitting there, mouths open, and then you have production assistants feeding them the dishes, the spoons, and it's the most awkward thing in the world.
Awkward. Holy shit!
Oh, yeah.
Where and this goes on for a while. It's like every matchup, and it's and then you have those, like, occasional things of the PAs going, oh no, lean forward a bit, or just trying to get them into the mouse, where it's bizarre.
Shit. That's actually really, so really good. Oh, damn.
You need to watch at least that part as well.
Okay.
Where, Rikush, if you were a PA in this situation, how would you be feeling trying to feed these culinary judges?
There's gotta be outtakes where, like, the PAs are just losing their shit. There has to be. Like, even just, like, the judges talking to them. Like, I just want to see the raw footage, like, the unedited footage, because I guarantee you they're all chuckling at some of these things. Because some of the dishes also, like, the chefs are like, yeah, you need to eat this all in one bite. And the bite is like the size of a fucking Big Mac, like height wise, and you're like, holy shit, how? It's amazing. It's so funny.
We're again, as much as I'm saying, I do appreciate Culinary Class Wars as being this pretty straight and narrow. No, I don't want to say no nonsense because that part in particular is all nonsense. Where it's such a contrast to the actual show itself. But I got a good laugh at it. And at least, Matt, if you want to partake in some awkward judging of food, I think you should really go in that regard. But actually, Rakush and Matt, I did want to ask you this as an extension to this part. There are two main judges, and if the judge is, if they each are split on the decision, it goes into another debate period where instead of they have to decide on a winner, so they go into extra discussion. Where Rakush, how did you feel about there being two main judges in this case as opposed to, say, three just to have that tiebreaker?
I think it led to some interesting conversations, and I think it really kind of speaks to the either or theme that they're going with, right? Even with the white spoon, black spoon kind of thing. Park Sung-won and An Sung-jae are very different in what they like. I won't spoil whose dish, but like in season 2, there's one dish, Park Jong-won gives it a 92 or 95 or something like that, a very high score. And Aung San-jae gives it a 65, just to kind of give you a sense of like what it is that they're judging for and what they're looking for and things like that as well. They approach the food with very different perspectives, and yet I think I respect both of their opinions equally. And I found that to be like really, really awesome. And I think that's a big selling point for me as well. I don't think adding a third judge, I don't think there's a problem that needs to be solved. I think like, because I think I know what you're referring to. There's like one segment where like they just could not come to a consensus on like a one-on-one battle. But I felt like that was kind of a good way of selling how different these guys are, right? And I think it really shows that just because one person doesn't like a dish doesn't make the dish bad. It just makes it what they're not looking for. And I appreciate that confidence that both of them also have in how they judge the things. Like, they don't consider themselves or the other judge wrong just because they differ with each other as well. And I really think that adds to sort of like the pure competition element of this series quite a bit as well.
And yeah, I think on paper, initially, watching season 1, it was a bit odd to me just having two judges, especially when a scenario of a split vote comes. But I think thanks to how it's actually at least presented to the audience, there's no, I think in a situation when you have two judges, there's this idea of you have to whittle down the other judge. But the way the show is presented is, they're both respectful of one another. They both have their own culinary backgrounds, where it is more, it's shown to be this more civil discussion where they are, when you watch a reality TV show, it's when you're trying to pick between two contestants, it's, at this point, it's just the tiny nitpicks that we're looking for. That's what we'll ding. That's what will send people home. And for some reason, in this situation, at least in this presentation, not to like sound like I'm glazing the show so much, but it actually feels like they're being genuine when that's being said. Where there's this mutual respect between these two judges where I never got that idea of they're trying to whittle down the other. It's like, no, my opinion's right. You have to change your opinion. It's them actually dissecting these dishes properly. And that's where it comes from, where, again, when I watch something like a Top Chef or like a Master Chef, when you have multiple judges, or at least at the odds and evens, you still have that one judge who might be more influential than the other, whose opinions may seem to have more weight than or at least that's how it's being presented to me. And at least just having those two judges on this equal foot and trying to actually have more time allotted to their thought process and trying to explain their thoughts and trying to see how that might resonate with the other judge, I thought makes the two judge system here work better than what I'm used to from other culinary shows.
This is more supplemental viewing, Jaren, but I do highly recommend it to you. An Sung-jae has a YouTube channel, and he actually interviews at least there's 2 episodes that I know of where he interviews the final 2 from season 2 in individual episodes. They're about 20, 30 minutes each. And I think like those are very eye-opening as well, that like he explains a lot of his decision making so clearly in that like there's never a doubt in my mind. And that goes back to what we were talking about earlier, right? Like this misleading thing of like, oh, he's just an asshole. Like he does come across as that, but it's never like, I don't disagree with how he sounds about some of these dishes. You know, it's like I fully trust, like, you know, this man is of a certain experience that even if I don't fully understand his rationale, I understand how he's grading these things. And a lot of that also comes through with like the questions that he asks. Like one of the things I love about this series is they don't do that thing where they just put the food in the mouth and go, like there's a very palpable silence after they take the first bite. And you can tell that they're processing what is being eaten and they're thinking of what questions they want to ask. And so many times, like, it actually also comes down to, like, what is the answer to this question? There's one competitor in season 2, I honestly cannot remember who it was, but they changed the order that they told An Sung-jae to eat the meals, or, like, you know, the dishes in, and that actually changed how he judged it. And I found that to be really fascinating as well. So there's so much of that happening, you know, where it's like, I truly believe that both of the judges that they have fully understand what it is that they're judging. And that's why, yeah, like going back to what you were saying about like having that third influential judge, like I don't think it's necessary. I think it might actually take away from some of the charm of this show.
Right. And yeah, I think that's why I find this so refreshing. Just have, I'm not saying like other culinary shows don't respect the chefs or respect the food, but I feel like at least it's being presented as a way to really respect what is being brought to the table, pun intended. But yeah, I guess talking about season 2 as well, we mentioned Brewmaster Yun. There's one in particular, of course, Culinary Monster, that I bet we'll get into. But other than that, Rakush, were there any other chefs for you that stood out during the run in season 2, or even season 1 as well?
I think I personally enjoyed the White Spoons a lot more in season 2. And I think a little bit of a meta conversation there might be, I think some of the more respected chefs, and that's not to say the season 1 chefs are not respected, but I think it was a little bit more experimental with like who the White Spoons would be. And I think in season 2, you saw a lot more of the experienced chefs, right? Like one of the chefs is, was it the Blue House? It's the equivalent of the White House in Korea. Yeah. I can't remember. Yeah. So one of the chefs was a chef for 20 years in the Blue House for 5 different presidents. Like that's a certain stature of like a chef that like wasn't available in season 1. And then like, you know, another chef, I'm trying not to spoil it, but one of the final 4 chefs as well, basically, was doing so many insane things, like a super experienced chef as well, right? Like it's just like every chef brought something so unique in season 2 that I think I just personally really enjoyed everything about season 2's competitors a lot more than season 1. But I do think season 1 had a lot of characters on the Black Spoon where it was like, hey, it's a little bit more experimental. Whereas in season 2, and I mean, Jared, are you ready to talk about Culinary Monster, or did you want to talk about any other chefs in season 2? Because I'm ready to talk about this, man.
No, we can talk about Culinary Monster. I just wanted to shout out to Venerable Sanjay.
Yes.
I think her being presented as the first master of monk cuisine, she always impressed me with her dishes. And I think, again, going back to these preconceived notions, it's her, even though her pantry might be limited just based on what temple cooking I perceived it to be, just seeing how the dishes that she brought up and seeing the judges just, explain how, intricate these dishes actually are, made me really interested in the cuisine and made me check myself about, again, preconceived notions about this show.
Yeah.
But,
I heard Matt say Matt, I just want to quickly clarify. This is not a Black Spoon with a nickname. Venerable Sanjay is actually like a monk who is a very respected chef in Korea.
Did you say Sanjay?
Yes.
Oh, I thought you said Venerable Sunday. which is
No,
honestly,
no,
I
no,
think,
Sanjay.
a much wilder name. But yeah.
Sorry, I just wanted to mention that because, I mean, I'm not a very religious person by any stretch of the imagination, but, like, this person approaches the series with, like, every other chef on the show had a massive amount of respect for this chef, from not just a religious standpoint, but, like you mentioned, Sharon, like, those, you can't cook meat. And so everything is limited because everything has to be vegetarian, right? So, yeah.
And it was just really impressive. And again, that aura when you have, that's especially what I like about this show, or just these culinary shows in general, is when you have these figures in the industry that are at that level where you have these other really talented chefs with their own accolades, just being in awe of certain people. I think that was really something that I always get a kick out of. Not that I want to talk about Physical 100 anymore, but even in the beginning, seeing everyone sizing up the competition, and they'll see that one or two competitor that make them go, "Oh, this is crazy," type thing. And
Yeah.
those are the aura moments that I really like. But I guess this gets to, I don't want to say the quote unquote protagonist of season 2, but let's just say Culinary Monster from the Black Spoons. I feel like did get the strongest edit throughout the entire season, where I feel like at the same time we needed a quote unquote villain character. And I feel like production tried their hardest just to give him a, let's just say, a harsher edit to kind of fit that role, when in reality, I found his editing to be kind of back and forth, where you would have these moments that, not really intentional or not, where he might have been a bit more harsh during the team challenges, but at the same time, you get those moments where, no, this just seems like a good guy, where,
Yeah.
again, I feel like so much attention was put on to him, and he was the most memorable besides Brewmaster Yun to me. But Rikush, what were your thoughts on Culinary Monster throughout season 2?
So, I think, like, I'm always a big fan of any character. I'm going to treat this a little bit like I would a sports anime, right? And anytime you watch a sports anime and they introduce this one character that is just, like, so much better than every other character at that thing, right? Like, they specialize in the sport. They know what they're talking about. They're at the top of their game. And they're very much like, if it's like one of those high school sports things, they're very much treated as like, they're going to be drafted 1-1 in, like, the next NPB, like, Japanese baseball draft or whatever, right? Like, there's always that character that everybody has to try and overcome in your typical, like, shonen sports animes. Culinary Monster is that for this series up until a certain point. And I think, like, that's kind of ties to what you were mentioning, Jaren. It's like there was a little bit of that back and forth happening with what kind of character they want him to be. But the thing that always kind of stood out to me with him is I think he was just a person that wanted to take responsibility for everything that was happening in a way that I think speaks to him wanting to be sort of like the head chef and, like, wanting to be a Michelin star chef. One of the more interesting things about this series with the Black Spoon specifically is how certain chefs have not kind of gotten the recognition that they deserve. And Culinary Monster's story is absolutely that. The story that they tell with him, and, well, not just tell with him, it is his story, is that he traveled between Europe and the US quite a bit from, like, a lot of these Michelin star restaurants to hone his craft. And he was one of the first Korean chefs to have gotten, like, certain honors or, like, certain roles in, like, certain restaurants that, like, he is an up-and-coming chef that hasn't necessarily received the fame and acclaim that the White Spoons have. And so the only reason he's not a White Spoon is because he's just that early in his career. And, like, I felt like he was treated very much like that character that I was referring to, where it's like, everybody is like, he is going to be a Michelin star chef in the future. He's just a little bit early right now. He's like 2 years early, 3 years early, whatever it is. And I think, like, when he got introduced and then I, like, understood what kind of character that they're going for, is not necessarily a good guy or a bad guy. It is just a confident guy. but he had a lot of amazing dialogues or pieces of dialogue in there, right? Like one of the lines that he says in one of the later episodes is, I think something like, I'm sad that I moved on, but it doesn't mean I can afford to lose. And it's like, he says a lot of stuff like that is just very much like, again, it comes across a little bit cold, but it's more confident than cold, right? And I found that super fascinating that, like, even in the team competitions, his frustration wasn't that people were messing up as much as his frustration was, I can't do my part for, like, you know, the competition. Like, a lot of his complaints as well were like, I need the team lead to tell me what to do. And in a way,
Yep.
what he's doing is he's almost testing the team lead. And, like, it's not necessarily, like, disrespecting the team lead, but it's challenging the team lead to be like, what do you want me to do? You got to tell me what to do, right? Like, I'm not overstepping here. You just need to tell me what my next responsibility is so that I can help the team out. Even though you know that deep down he wants to be the team lead and stuff like that as well. And I found that really fascinating about this character as well, is that you have a very complex, slightly cold character that, like, I think, like, by the end of it, I think fully deserved everything that, you know, like, happened with the character as well, without kind of spoiling much of, like, you know, where the character ends up and everything. I just think it's, yeah, like, I don't even know if he was necessarily the protagonist. Like, I still feel like Brewmaster Yun was the protagonist, which is why I felt like that edit of, like, her elimination was so shocking, right? Like, Culinary Monster to me almost was being set up as, like, eventually he's gonna clash with the quote-unquote protagonist. I think, like, another protagonist would be one of the White Spoon chefs, which was Son Jong-won, who is another, like, you know, was, like, amazing in the team competitions, amazing just overall, and, like, his whole dynamic with Culinary Monster was handled really well as well. And so, like, I think in many ways, like, Culinary Monster edited to be a certain character really well, and I give the production team a lot of credit for that. And then, like, honestly, you go and listen to some of the things outside of the actual reality show with Culinary Monster, and he just seems like a softie at heart, and it's amazing. And I'm actually really excited to see what, like, you know, beyond just the show, he's opening up his restaurant in New York in March. And I'm not someone that follows, like, you know, how these restaurants fare and stuff like that, but because of how the character was portrayed and, like, you know, just how much of a fan I personally ended up being of his, similar to how I would say in season 1, I became a big fan of Chef Edward Lee as well. And it's like, I kind of want to actually follow these careers and see what these chefs are doing next and everything as well. So that's my take on it. Jaren, what did you think of Culinary Monster?
I think with my take in terms of Culinary Monster, one note, Culinary Monster, of course, isn't his real name.
Damn.
All the Black Spoons, when they compete, they have their own nicknames. Like, even Brewmaster Yun isn't her real... Well, Yun might be her real name, but Brewmaster is part of her nickname.
Wait,
and,
sorry. Do they pick their nickname, or is it production that picks the nickname? Okay.
Yeah, they pick their nickname, yeah.
The theme with the Black Spoons is you picked a nickname because you haven't earned the right to use your real name yet in the culinary world. And the White Spoons go by their real names.
Okay.
So yeah, but when it comes to Culinary Monster, you know, going back to the confidence thing, and I think it's just a meta commentary when it does come to reality show production in general, when I think about it, is how often this confidence, being able to bet on yourself and recognize your own abilities, is usually given that quote unquote villain edit. Where again, you do have these pockets where Culinary Monster is just seems to be a chilled guy, but at the same time, it's those moments where he is passionate about what he does, where he does believe in his skills, where he does believe in his ability, where, as you said, when you're still even though this is season 2, the editing is a bit more lax in comparison to season 1 in many ways. And, you know, there's less of a dramatic edge to it. You still need to have these defined characters for, you know, going back to that theme of the common everyday person, the masses, when you're trying to create something for consumption. where I do feel like, as I said before, Culinary Monster did get this more quote unquote villain edit, just because you still need to have that character that might be the antagonist, or just something that is more defined by than some of the other chefs that are, this is going to sound more harsher than it is, might not necessarily have that same character, other than they're just a good chef. Where I think in many respects, I don't want to say he's a victim of editing, but to me, he's the one that had the most editing applied to him to present him as this almost final boss like character, and just to see how he's presented throughout these challenges. It's always just interesting to me when I see how any confidence from a lot of competitors can be shown to be more of a negative edge, where you maybe they do want you to root for someone who's more modest, someone who's more timid, that underdog. But at the same time, when you go in kind of guns blazing, believing in yourself just because you know how good you are, that's where you might feel like, oh, this is their guy. This is who they're going to paint as the quote unquote bad guy. So I feel like that's the only thing that stood out to me from a production standpoint. But when it comes to skills, and again, just because he had this harsh edit, quote unquote harsh edit, when you do have those pockets where he just seems like a normal everyday dude, where I thought there was a bit of a clash when it came to, damn, maybe they don't have enough of the to use to give him that villain role in this episode, and you just see him as a normal dude, and it's like, that's how I like to see. So a lot of the dishes he cooked looked amazing. I liked a lot of how innovative he was being as well. But again, not really speaking to the skills, it's just I think he definitely had the most character, or that his character was presented the most in terms of everyone, maybe aside from Brewmaster Yun from the Black Spoons. But made a fan of me, would love it. Even a lot of these chefs, it's, man, I really want to eat at one of the restaurants, but who knows when I'll ever be given a chance. But that's kind of my takeaway from it.
Jared, I think before we move on, I kind of want to just read out some of the Black Spoon nicknames from seasons 1 and 2 that I think would be interesting to Matt's sensibilities as well.
Okay.
All right. Comic book chef. Meat master. Yakitori king.
Okay, I think that's a real restaurant already, but okay.
That's Cooking maniac. Master of school meals.
Okay.
Auntie omakase. That one I don't know if you'd enjoy it, because omakase a little different. But moving on to some of the names in season 2. We've already spoken about Brewmaster Yun. I think this will be your favorite, Matt. Loner in a hole in the wall.
Oh, that's pretty good.
We mentioned Culinary Monster. Witch with the walk.
Oh, that's good. That's really good.
That's a really good one. Yeah. Honestly, the one character or the one contestant I actually wish we saw a little bit more of this season. Iron Arms.
Okay.
Fan Master.
Okay, that sounds like somebody from like Idol Manager.
That's why I felt like you might make the connection there. And I don't know, Jared, any other ones you think might be of interest to Matt?
No, you just reminded me how much I really liked Fan Master. Matt, I feel like if there was a chef to get behind, I think you'd be a fan of Fan Master. I liked his dishes and presentation as well.
You're a master fan master.
I'm assuming this is like somebody who just like does like grilling stuff.
Yeah, basically. Yep. But he's really good at it, honestly. Also, the way he like just kind of holds the fan is great.
Oh, he has. Okay, good. I'm glad that this guy has a fan like on his person, like he's gonna play Go or something.
Oh yeah. No, all these guys have like their signature things. They're great. But yeah.
But yeah, overall, I did like season 2 a lot more than season 1, and maybe that's just recency bias. But before we kind of speculate on the future, Rakush, what were just any other thoughts on season 1 and 2 about Culinary Class Wars?
Yeah, I guess the last thought that I would share on this, and honestly, I'm like amazed that we've gotten so much out of like this one show on this episode. I'm really glad that like you've watched both seasons as well, Jaren, because I've been wanting to talk about the series for a minute as well, but I think the last thing I'll say is a bit of a heavy-handed thing as well, is that I think there's a certain importance to shows like this existing as well from an international standpoint and for what fine dining really means. Because I think with like our North American sensibilities, we kind of fall into this habit, and I say we in a general sense, right? Like, I'm not going to say, Jaren, you fall into this per se, but I think the general consensus for fine dining in North America is that you're eating European cuisine, right? Like French dining, Italian dining, Spanish food, Portuguese food, so on and so forth. Like, I think there's always a very European approach that is praised in fine dining here. And I think like what I appreciated about watching a show like this and seeing these chefs that specialize in Korean cuisine, a lot of Chinese cuisine as well, is to see these like different types of food, these different regionality, like the specialties, like be on display, and to see that Chinese food can be fine dining food, that like Korean food, for as homey as it is, can be fine dining food. And also on the flip side, I think it's important to also show that like fine dining chefs are not just eating fine dining food. I think like one of the things that really speaks to me is that mild spoilers for a theme from the finale of season 2 is this idea of like, what would you cook for yourself? And like hearing the reactions of even like, you know, the non-finalists on like how that is such a difficult theme for the chefs, and this idea that like, you know, just because you're a Michelin star chef or just because you work in fine dining doesn't mean that you only eat that food. Like, you're honestly eating very normal food as well, right? And I felt like that was also like a really interesting takeaway from all this as well. And ultimately also just kind of seeing like, you know, like the elevated cuisines from these regions, I think is like a big thing as well. So I feel like in that sense, that's another thing I really appreciate about this show's existence. And there's a lot of respect given to like Korean cuisine, even if I'm not going to eat seafood, even if I'm not going to eat roughly 70-80% of the dishes that they make because it's so seafood heavy, I can still respect that like this is something special that they're making. And I think that's really cool.
Yeah, no, definitely. Again, it is just seeing representations of different backgrounds and food and cuisine is where I would like to see this branch out to have more, to highlight other regions of the world that might not, as you said, have that spotlight or be associated with fine dining. Where I think one of the things that I do like about Top Chef is you bring all these different chefs of all these different backgrounds. And when they usually get to that point of the show where it is, hey, it's up to you, cook whatever you want, cook whatever you want to bring to the table, whether it be your specialty, what you want to highlight. And more often than not, it is a lot of chefs going, my background might not necessarily be associated with fine dining, but I want to show my take on it. I want to show how I can elevate it and how it can stack up to what we do perceive, we generally are, as a general populace, perceive as fine dining. And I think that's what always impresses me and makes me excited, just to see different takes of different foods being represented. And I think for the future of Culinary Class Wars, even if they do stick to it being a primarily Korean production, or maybe they go the route of physical Asia, where you're opening it up to different regions and different cultures, and chefs of that background, just to see what their takes are and how they're being influenced when they travel abroad, when they apprentice chef in other regions and other restaurants as well. Where I think at the end of the day, this is a conversation that is, you go back through Mistake Zone, Saturday Morning Arcade history of, it's this food being a unifier and one way to express yourself and just open discussion. And I think that's why I typically gravitate towards food reality shows, even whether it be something like a competition like that's more, fine dining. And on the flip side, I like my junk food, oh, is this cake reality show as well, where, you're just going for the foods, but for the goofs, but you still have people that are passionate about what they do.
Yeah.
And when you're able to see that passion go into their creations, I think that's what I kind of enjoy most. And of course, I just love me some food and I want to see some good eats. But speaking about the future of the show, according to Wikipedia, for season 3, Netflix announced that the third season of Culinary Class Wars, unlike the first 2 seasons, will employ a team format with groups of 4 representing a single restaurant. Does that do anything to you, Rakush, based on how you've consumed seasons 1 and 2 so far?
Yeah, you kind of read my mind, because I have that article open right now as well, and I'm curious to see where it goes. I think I do think if they handle it correctly, it could be good. Of course, like a restaurant is not just one chef, right? The restaurant is a chef, the sous chef, the front of this, front of the restaurant staff, things like that as well. So I am curious about how they actually execute this like 4-on-4 competition that they're going for. I'm there. I'm absolutely going to be watching it. But yeah, I think it's going to be different. So let's see. I do hope that at some point, whether it's season 4 or season 5, if it gets to that point, that they get back to the individual competitions, because I do think that there's still a lot of story to be told there. Maybe they're just thinking, hey, not that many chefs for us to go through without returning back to old competitors. Maybe that's fair. But yeah, let's see what they do with season 3. I think it's interesting, but different.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, Culinary Class Wars, 2 seasons on Netflix right now for you to dive into. But yeah, Rakush, any closing thoughts on the first 2 seasons of Culinary Class Wars and just the competition itself?
I mean, it's great. I think we didn't really talk a lot about Chef Edward Lee. I think like there's a lot of cool characters. I think Edward Lee's background and story really speaks to a lot of, I think like, his thing is with being a Korean American. Mine is more like, Indian Canadian kind of thing. So in some ways I can relate to a lot of things that he speaks to. And I found that really fascinating. Not something I expected to get out of a reality show, but it was awesome. I think there's a lot of things you can enjoy about this series, even if you're more a fan of like, so one of my best friends loves reality shows because she's an editor and she gets to see how you tell these unscripted stories. And I think this is a great example of telling an unscripted story through a reality show as well. So like there's different reasons that you can enjoy this. I really love this show, so I feel comfortable encouraging folks to find that reason to like, go and watch this series as well, because it really is that good. It's also changed how I cook a little bit. I am bending down a little bit to now cut my vegetables, although it's having an impact on my back health. But hey, the veggies look a little bit finer, friends, so that's worth it.
And if there's one thing we can get out of reality TV in 2026, I feel like that's the most we can ask for at this point.
Oh, yeah.
But Matt,
Mm-hmm.
this has been a Culinary Class Wars centric show. But if Matt, what would your nickname be if you were a Black Spoon chef on the show?
Oh man, hang on. I need to think.
Okay, well, Matt's thinking. Rakush, I'm sure you must have thought about this while watching one of the many episodes. What would your Black Spoon chef name be?
I think I would go with Culinary Pretender.
Oh, that's really good. Fuck.
That's a good one. That's like a really good one.
Oh, no.
Because I love cooking for myself, but I don't share my cooking with other folks. In a way, because when I cook for myself, I take a lot of liberties with my preferences in the meals. Whereas when you cook for others, I kind of feel like you have to be a little bit more objective with your cooking. So that's why I think Culinary Pretender.
That's fair.
What would yours be, Jared?
I don't know, because when I think about the nickname Foundation, it usually relates to one of your specialties, whether it be a cooking technique or the food you prepare. And when I kind of think about that, pretty much have none. But you know what? I like noodles. I like burgers. So we'll go with Noodle Burger. No class denouncement, just Noodle Burger.
Did you ever try that ramen burger in New York? If you ever were there,
I didn't like it.
So
I don't
gross.
like the texture of the ramen itself.
Yeah, I hated it.
Was bad. Where maybe if you were to make maybe if it was fried, like not like raw noodles before boiled, but like maybe if you cook the noodles and then fry it and then use that as your bun apparatus, it might have been better. But yeah, there was just something about, at least the one I had, about the texture of the noodles while still being clumped together that wasn't a good mouthfeel.
Didn't like it. Yeah.
You know me, friends. I need me a good mouthfeel, or I'm not enjoying that meal. Not enjoying that meal at all.
I feel that. Matt, you're running out of time.
Oh, I think I'm just revisiting old ground here. I'll just go with high sodium big boy tears for the soul.
Basic. I think that might be
good.
Yeah, high sodium master might be a good one for you.
Oh man,
not that limits the food choices. I feel like you need everything there. They'll make it work. Production will make it work.
MSG master. I think that might be a good one.
No, I mean, like, there's salt in tears. That's why it has to be the high. Wait, does MSG have sodium in it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh wait, no, yeah, it's in the
like
fucking
the
name.
most notoriously high in sodium thing. It's literally the purest form of sodium.
Yeah. Well, wouldn't sodium be the purest form of sodium?
Well, okay, fair. If you want to get all science.
Sodium, the flammable part of it.
The most purest form of edible sodium, let's say. I don't know. Anyways, you're going with, what was it?
Oh, high sodium big boy tears for the soul.
Okay. How about just high sodium big boy?
No, but I think the tears are a very important part of like why the food is high sodium.
Okay. Got it.
You know, there's a little bit of me in every dish.
But yeah, Culinary Class Wars on Netflix or wherever. I don't know where else you can stream.
I think it's just Netflix because it's a production from them.
But check it out. Might be a reality show for you. But boys, even though I might feel pretty full from that main course of Culinary Class Wars, you know I need me some desserts. It's sweet treat season all the time here in the Mistake Zone. Mm-hmm. And that sometimes the sweetest treat is a Don't Match Me challenge. And I believe you're up to, I was going to say up to bat, but not you're taking on the Iron Chef role this week for Don't Match Me. So please take it away.
All right. So, of course, this is our weekly game of Don't Match Me, where the rules are that I, the question asker, I'm going to ask you, the listener, along with my co-hosts, 5 questions, and I'm going to give 5 answers. The goal for you, the player, is to provide an answer that does not match my answer. And if that sounds too easy for you, you can, of course, up that difficulty by trying to not match my co-hosts at the same time. And remember that this is a podcast, so if you need some time to think, you can just hit that pause button, Google an answer, and then start us right back up again, because we're always going to be on the other side of that play button. And, guys, today is a, very important Sunday in sports culture. So I decided to do a Don't Match Me Superb Owl version.
This guy is gimmick infringing on me. I'm the sports guy.
So here is my very owl based Don't Match Me challenge.
That's the twist. Okay.
The superb owl, Rakush. For my first question, very general, I want you guys to just name any species of owl. There's a bunch out there. I just want you to name one species. So name that species in 3, 2, 1. I'm going to go with the species that I think of first when I try to imagine an owl in my head. I'm going with the great horned owl. Jaren, what'd you go with?
So Matt, if we're talking about the superb owl on the Sunday, that was, of course, being noted in a particular subreddit of a joint hobby that we both have. And let's just say when I associate owls with that hobby, I think about the barn owl. So that's my answer.
You got a specific type of barn owl you're going with?
The anime girl variant.
Anime barn owl. Gotcha. Okay.
Yep. All right. Rakush, what owl did you go with?
I'm going with this one because this feels more like an insult than anything else. I'm going with the ashy-faced owl.
Oh, which one is that one? Hang on, I'm going to Google a picture of this one real quick.
I'm looking at the photo.
Oh, okay.
I kind of get it.
I get why they called it that. Yeah.
It still seems like a crazy insult. Like if someone came up to me and is like, "Yo, you look ashy faced," I'd fight that person.
I mean, isn't there like a baboon that's just called like the red-assed baboon or something?
Well, sure, yeah, but that's a literal red ass. Like if they called this a gray faced owl, I'd be like, okay, sure. But calling it ashy,
okay, maybe.
I think that's where the beef starts.
All right, going on to my second question. I want you to name any fictional owl or owl-like character in any media. So as long as they, look like an owl or like are owl-shaped, I think it counts. Or they can just be a real owl that is just named. Yeah, any kind of medium.
Yep.
Okay. So name that owl in 3, 2, 1. I'm going with Owl from Winnie the Pooh.
Okay.
Jaren, who'd you go with?
I mean, based on my first answer, it's pretty obvious who I went with.
Ooh.
I went with, according to Google, musical artist Nanashi Mume, formerly of Hololive Productions.
There's no way I would have matched that.
Oh, okay.
Guys?
Okay. Jared?
Guys?
Sorry, Rakush?
How many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Roll? I learned that question from Mr. Owl.
Oh, man. That was one of the ones I was going to pick. That was like my second.
If you picked that, holy shit.
Oh, man. That would actually have been a really good goof.
It would be really good.
It's a good owl. That's a good owl.
Great owl.
All right. So, going on to my third question. Getting the answers slightly more specific right now. Guys, there is an owl out there who likes to teach languages. So, I want you to name any language that the Duolingo owl can teach you.
Oh, okay. All right.
Name that language in 3, 2, 1. I'm going to go with one that has always interested me. I'm going to go with Esperanto.
Okay.
Jaren, what'd you go with?
I went with Spanish, but this is I didn't want to get on a technicality, but not trying to promote Duolingo for reasons, but I remember they also met if one of our friends out there said math, music, and chess. Would you accept that answer, or would you specifically want them to say a language?
I would not accept that answer because I was going with specifically languages.
Okay. Just saying that they do offer math, music, and chess, but I'm going with Spanish.
Rakush, what'd you go with?
Jared, I matched with you because I often think to myself, no habla español.
Damn. No.
It's okay, Rakush. You matched with me, but not Matt, so you're still in it. Unless you're playing on hard mode.
Well, gotta play on baby mode this year, apparently.
Okay, so going on to question 4. I don't know if you guys agree with this, but I think probably the most popular owl character is probably Hedwig from the Harry Potter series.
Fair.
So I just want you to name any Harry Potter universe book that Hedwig has appeared in. Name that book in 3, 2, 1. You guys, last night I was playing Cards Against Humanity with Rakush. And one of the cards that came up is related to my answer, which is Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. Jaren, which one are you going with?
Philosopher's Stone.
Ooh.
I don't know. My experience with Harry Potter has dramatically been 0 for reasons. Yeah. So that's the only thing that comes to mind. I'm hoping that I was there.
Kush, what'd you go with?
Prisoner of Azkaban. Same reason as Jared. I honestly don't know much about this one.
Okay. Okay, so for my 5th question, I'm pretty sure that you guys will be able to pick this one, just off the top of your head. A very popular owl is... not a very popular owl. I think to us, a popular owl is our boy, Blathers, from the Animal Crossing series. I think we've done this question before.
Good out.
I think we've done this question before, but I want you to name any museum wing in Animal Crossing. So, name that wing in 3, 2, 1. Go. I can't think wing without thinking of the insect wing. Jaren, what'd you go with?
When I think about Animal Crossing, the museum, of course, I'm thinking about. I had to look it up, the proper name, the Dinosaur Bone Museum, but that would be the Fossil Gallery.
Dang.
Rakush,
Match with you again.
Ooh.
Fossil.
Oh. You guys just feeling particularly old.
Rakush, that's a perspective thing. Some say you matched with me, or others would say I matched with you. Perspective.
But I go last, so it would mean I matched.
Yeah,
with
that's
you.
true.
Well, that's how it goes sometimes.
Yeah.
That's how it goes
It'll
sometimes.
Oh man.
But Matt,
Uh-huh.
that was the don't match me. I was gonna be like, I was trying to incorporate a who pun, but I spoke way too soon. So thank you anyway. But speaking of thanks, this is the time where I end off thanking my best friends in the whole wide world for joining me this week, such as Matt Alba for bringing this week's Don't Match Me challenge and editing this episode. Thanks, Matt.
Yo, thanks, man. Of course, I want to thank you, Jaren, as always, for hosting this episode, and both of you actually for taking the burden of talking for basically this whole episode.
I feel bad that you didn't talk a lot today.
You know what, Rakush? Sometimes you don't talk a lot. Sometimes I don't talk a lot. It's
That's a lie. I talk a lot every day.
I mean, okay, sorry. On the podcast. On the podcast.
Oh, okay.
And of course, thanks for Rakush for bringing the culinary class wars topic to the stove and serving it freshly hot. Thanks, Rakush.
Hooty hoo. That's my owl.
And I guess I'll take this time to, boys, there was some updates this week to the Real Mistake Zone League 2026, our open credit league that you can follow if you choose. Boys, we had some new additions to the rosters where mainly Mark Quintos has added, Rakush? Mark has added The Adventures of Elliot, the Millennium Tales,
Fucking
to
Elliot.
Sofa King Interactive.
Fucking Elliot. Goddamn Elliot.
With a bid of $5, and then I have added to Sega 2, Danganronpa 2x2, for a bid of $12. Boys, I think I overpaid for
Jared,
Yeah.
You told me that you were gonna put it on there, and I was considering bidding. But honestly, I was gonna put up like $2.
I think I overbid there.
Man.
And boys, I think the currently the only team with a score is Mark Sofa King Interactive. Mugenics with a tentative score right now on Open Critic of 90. So points not processed yet, but
looking good.
Already on the board with a heavy hit there.
I did not expect that one to hit a 90, to be honest.
Matt, I believe you're up next with Mario Tennis Fever with a release date.
Oh fuck, that's not gonna do well.
February 12th. So I think next week's update, we'll see another update on the board in that regard.
I hope that gets at least 1 point.
There was a partner direct. I think Orbitals was the best thing we showed once again. But Rakush won't be joining us this next week, I believe. So Matt, are you ready for another episode of the Gotchapocalypse?
Oh, Jaren. I, of course, am ready for another episode of the Gotchapocalypse. Guys, did you know that Arknight Enfield is a Strand-type game?
Oh, God.
Oh, man.
I did not know that, but I guess I will learn more about that next week on the Mistake Zone. But until then, Matt, please take it away.
This has been the Mistake Zone, and we're all out of licks to get to the center of the Tootsie Pop.
How many was it?
1,
Damn.
2, 3.
Guys, I just bite it. I'm a savage like that.
That's psychotic. Holy shit.